Is Joe Burrow the next generation's Tom Brady?
Yeah, I believe that's a pretty fair and accurate statement. I think this, Molly, when we look at athletes, and I'll specifically talk about quarterbacks now, one of the reasons, or one of the things we do is like we ask ourselves, how do they do that more than what did they actually just do? Like if you think about it when it comes to Tom Brady, right? And the era that he was at his absolute best in was like during the time frame of the Peyton Manning and then the Aaron Rodgers. And it was Peyton Manning, how is he that smart? You know, if everyone kind of remember Peyton Manning at the line of scrimmage and he was changing all these plays and all this communication and everyone would sit there and go, how is he that smart? Or Aaron Rodgers and kind of on the move and making some of these crazy throws and these Hail Marys or these incredibly accurate tight window, body all over. How does he make that throw? And we never really had those moments with Tom. It was always like, oh, it was just Tom. Like, it was more like what he accomplished more than how he accomplished it. And then it's the same thing with Joe Burrow right now. And the era that we're in with these quarterbacks, if we think about Patrick Mahomes and all the jaw-dropping, ridiculous throws that Patrick makes, you go, how does he make that throw? The cross-the-body field to Tyreek Hill years ago against Baltimore, the underhand flip this past weekend against Denver, like how did he do that? Or Lamar Jackson, how did he just make all those crazy runs? Or Justin Herbert, how is a guy that big have that kind of rocket arm? Or Josh Allen. So it's like the how more than Joe Burrow. It's like, well, what did Joe do? Oh, he threw for 300 yards again. Oh, Joe led another fourth quarter comeback. Or, oh, Joe was at his best when he needed it the most. And so I think that's why the correlation between the two guys happens is they don't necessarily, to like our eyes as fans, have some of these traits that we just go indescribably, how does that happen? But and Joe said it, like everything that is at the most important, they do at their absolute best, not only in that way, but also when it's needed the most. So I think it's pretty fair.
It's fair, and I agree with your conclusion. But I would tell you, I want to modify your thinking, Dan Orlovsky, in several respects. Number one, earlier on in Tom Brady's career, you had people feeling New England was winning in spite of him, not necessarily because of him. It wasn't that he was playing bad, but he was contained and managed by Bill Belichick. Their defense at that particular moment in time was elite, et cetera, et cetera. Then folks started clamoring for an upgrade, even though the Troy Browns of the world and others were there. They started clamoring for an upgrade in the receiving corps because they said Tom Brady is that dude, give him some weapons. Then they acquired the likes of, Randy Moss, and you had guys like Amendola and Edelman and others that would come along later. And then obviously you saw what he could do. But in the earlier part, those first 2 or 3 Super Bowls, it really was about that defense. It was about the Ty Laws of the world and others and, and McGinnises of the world and the crew. It's about those guys more so than Tom Brady. So now, then you fast forward. People keep forgetting there's a 10-year period from 2004 to 2014 where the New England Patriots didn't even make the Super Bowl.
Right.
They didn't win the Super Bowl. They didn't win the Super Bowl. You understand what I'm saying? 2007, 2011, both losses to the Giants. They didn't win a Super Bowl in 10 years. So we can't forget that either. Even though Joe Burrow has lost the Super Bowl, the bottom line is that was his second year in his league, his first full season because he got hurt his rookie year. His first full season, he took him to the Super Bowl. And so when you look at it from that perspective, and you don't look at the Cincinnati Bengals defense and say, well, they're carrying him. You look at Joe Burrow with Chase and Higgins and those boys, and like, no, it's about that offense, okay? Very early, from the jump start, it was about Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow has transformed that franchise. We don't talk about the Bengals anymore with bags over their heads and how, they're just not those dudes. From the moment Joe Burrow arrived, things have changed. That wasn't the case with Tom Brady, okay? And so you got to look at it from those two perspectives. And last but not least, we sit there, this is where the similarity comes in. Repeatedly, we saw Tom Brady, but many people thought Peyton Manning was better. But Tom Brady would beat him. Right. We think Patrick Mahomes is better, but Joe Burrow keeps beating him.
Yeah.
That's the similarity. And so we got to pay attention to that moving forward. And that's why we got to look at Joe Burrow and say, yo, he's that dude. He's that dude. We can't deny it.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Thank Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN Plus.